My guest today, this is very, very exciting. You've seen him on Comedy Central. He's been on Showtime. He did a one-man show called 20 and Out. He's a co-host of the Police Off the Cuff podcast with another former NYPD, Bill Cannon. Mark DeMayo is here. Hello, Mark.
Hi, Chrissy.
Thank you for
How
doing
are you?
it.
It's good to see you.
It's really good to see you too.
No, I mean, it's really good to see you.
Oh,
I'm home.
hey.
I'm home alone right now.
Oh, hey. Nice.
Yeah, I feel like you're at my place.
Yeah, well, like let's just make some drinks and hang.
Wouldn't that be great, right?
So Mark, this is so interesting, and this is what I really wanted to talk to you about. Because you were an NYPD and for what, 20 years?
Yeah,
And it seems
20 and out.
right, 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 like the name of your show. And it seems right now that some cops, you know, it's interesting, like based on who the governor is or in what state you're in right now during this pandemic, it seems like some governors and leaders have maybe overstepped the rules that they want to enforce. Some states seem more like tyrannical than others, and to me it looks like perhaps some cops might feel a pull between doing what they're told and doing what they feel in their heart is right. Like we'll see examples of people getting arrested because they're meeting up for religious purposes or a party, or it's you know what I'm talking about? Like do you feel like cops now feel a bit of a pull between
Yeah, I
doing what
mean,
they're
it's part
told?
of the
Yeah.
job, really. You're always in a situation like that. Realistically, you're not supposed to let what you believe in personally get in the way from doing your job, but um, it's just a natural thing. Like, I'd have a really hard time enforcing any of these laws right now. Social distancing, businesses opening. I'd have a really, really hard time with it. I remember when I was on the job, and there were much smaller events, and a lot of it was stuff that, like, we were up for a contract. So we decided not to write any summonses. And that's called a slowdown. And when that actually took effect and things started slowing down, and, I guess the city, even though they're not supposed to, they rely on the money. But then they started cracking down from the top. You got to make these guys right. You got to make these guys right. And, we were all there stern. We're not going to write. We're not going to write. And then comes the pressure. If you don't write, then either, I don't know, you're going to get written up, or especially if it's a direct order. So if you have a direct order by your boss to go and, write summonses at that fitness place in New Jersey, for example, and you come back empty-handed, you might get away with that for one day, and then they'll send you out there again. So now you got a wife, you got kids, or spouse, let's say, and you're barely staying afloat right now because you can't do any extra work. Are you really going to go and fight the whole system along with this gym owner?
Yeah.
Because you better believe if you come back empty-handed the next day, they're probably going to send you again, and the business might be in your sector, so you're going to have to deal with it. So, are you refusing to do your job?
Ugh. Right, like just today I was taking a walk and like I saw somebody like writing a ticket, like a parking ticket, and it's like how
That's ridiculous. I mean, if
it's
I
like
saw that, to me, if I
ugh.
see that, and usually something like that, like especially nowadays, I hope anyway, it's mostly traffic agents, which that's their primary job. Like, they don't have another job to, pretend like they're doing, like, oh, I'm looking for an arrest or something like that. Their job is to write summonses. If they don't write summonses, then they're gonna, once again, you're in that position. It's tough to write a summons though now, and plus, there's no money to pay for any of these things.
That's what I thought. I mean, I was like, are they,
I don't know. Are they allowed to tow your car right now? They shouldn't be. I think all that stuff is suspended right now. It should be.
yeah.
I mean, imagine, because that's my fear too. Because I live in the city, and sometimes I accumulate summonses, and it's always like, yeah, I'll pay them, but you don't want to come to your car and see a boot on it. Not now, or they freaking towed it away. And the city's not above that, by the way.
Wow.
I mean, they will do shit like that. So That's why you're always in a constant state of fear, especially if you own a car in this city. You are a target because that's what they tried to do. This is what's called redistribution of wealth by letting people on the subways for free now and not
Subways are
arresting
free
them.
right now?
Pretty much. I mean, if they give you a summons, it's returnable to some type of civil court where I don't even think you have to show up.
Really?
Uh,
So you could just hop the turnstile
yeah,
right
but
now.
what they do is they're going to make the revenue on those that congestion pricing. If you drive below, I think it's 61st Street all the way down to, I guess, the end of Manhattan, between a certain amount of hours, you're going to have to pay like a toll, an extra toll.
When did this start?
It didn't start yet. It's supposed to
Oh,
start.
wow. That sucks
Obviously,
for
everything
people who
right now
live
is being
there.
put on hold, all these plans. But if you look up as you're walking around or driving in the city, every traffic light has these wires on it and like a little box already in place, waiting for this thing to take off.
Wow. So they've put up these, yeah, cameras and sensors
It's a
already.
redistribution of wealth. Having a car in this city is a privilege, and they're going to punish you for it.
Wow.
That's why the summonses that they put on the car, the driving with the cameras everywhere right now. I mean, I routinely get tickets for doing 31 in a 25.
No, that's insane.
Yeah, I mean, like it's just like
Do you feel like this, along with a few other things, is gonna just drive people out of the city? Do you think there's gonna be a
I think
mass
this is going to be an interesting
moving?
summer, especially
Yeah.
if you don't open up the beaches. I think you're going to see. I don't know if this guy's aware of what could happen.
You mean Cuomo?
No, De Blasio.
Okay.
You got 30,000 police officers, and you have probably 100,000 people that are going to go to the beach at the same time, and you're not going to go, and you're not going to have just all 30,000 police officers there. You're talking about a fraction of that, because you have to have everybody in their own precincts anyway. They have a summer detail that goes down there, and it's I don't know how many cops they put out there, maybe 50 per tour. Even if it's 75, it's still not enough to hold back 20, 10,000 people at every beach that want to go on.
Do you
It's going to
think?
be a shit show for sure.
Yeah, because I heard like this. I don't know if this was the Jersey Shore or if this was. It might have been Jersey. Like they're letting people on. You can walk on the boardwalks, but you can't lay down on the beach.
Yeah, it's fucking ridiculous, right?
Like you can be on it,
Like
but
as soon as you run out of the water, you got to just keep running straight from the boardwalk. And none of it's going to work. It's easy to say right now, but when it's 95 degrees and these people that live in Harlem, in Washington Heights, in Brooklyn, in the Bronx that normally go to the beach, when they can't go, where are they going to go? You're going to turn on the fire hydrants, and then that's going to drain the water for all the city.
hmm, wow. I never think of that. Like the fire hydrant would actually make a dent in
Well, you think
water.
about it, you break it up because you have the city pools that are open, so you got people that go there. Then you got the beaches that are open, you got people that go there. And then on the days where you're not going to the beach or you're not going to the pool, you could just jump in front of the fire hydrant. And
Yeah,
we're talking about a lot of these apartments don't have air conditioning, and that's their only way to cool off in the city when it's you're talking about a 90-degree day. You think somebody's going to be wearing a mask? You're not going to see a mask in the middle of June. You'll never see a mask again.
because nobody wants those tan lines.
Yeah, I know. That's it's going to be a new look.
Do you actually think it's gonna, yeah, get to a point where like cops have to like drag people off the beach or like do you actually
I
see
think
like
it
your
might be.
buddies
I
doing
think
that?
that would be the worst thing that could happen because now you're putting yourself in harm's way. If you see that you're outnumbered, you got to just retreat and you know because if these fights that break out, these skirmishes, people throwing stuff, coming from everywhere, you're going to talk about an enormous amount of people, fed up, angry. And who do they take it out on all the time? The cops are the middlemen. They always take it out, no matter which side it falls on. The police force is your first. That's the closest you'll ever get to government.
Right. Do you think the cops are getting harassed more now than when you were working?
I think it all depends on the type of cop. that guy, that cop that smacked the shit out of in the Lower East Side. Did you see that guy? I think his
Well,
name was Fernando Garcia. He's like my hero. I call him the Godfather.
no, I don't know if I saw it because it's like if
They
it's like a
were
viral
doing
video.
something with social distancing,
Mm.
and well, the kids were smoking pot, I think, and they were telling them to break it up. So I guess it falls under social distancing, not the pot part, but just the, you can't be hanging out like this. This is
Like
why
you guys
it's
can keep smoking pot, just spread out.
yeah, just I don't know. You have one hitters? Come on, you guys just stand over there, break it
Yeah.
up. So he felt like somebody was coming from behind him, which they were. So he just turned around and he put his taser out. And I guess we can't see the guy off camera, but the cop says, "Don't flex on me." So the guy probably went like this. And then after the
Cop
cop
said,
said
"Don't
that,
flex on me."
yeah, he said, "Don't flex on me." And then the cop just smacked him, wow, right there in the head. The guy falls. Then he jumps on top of him. And then he has this really cool move where he sticks his knee right in your neck. He did it over there at the first spot. It's a good way to keep somebody in place, their head in place
Put
anyway.
a knee on the back of their neck.
Yeah. But I mean, it's not a sexy look right now.
I'm gonna try it with my boyfriend later
Yeah, that's a good idea. But it's not a sexy look on camera, you know.
because it looks
So,
probably kind of
but
brutal.
that's a guy who can handle himself, and that's the guy who's not going to take shit. And that's the way the job used to be. And now you have people that don't know how to defend themselves. They're scared of being caught on camera. Um, and it's just you're in a transition right now. They're figuring out how to police, but I don't think it's going to last that long, because in a not too distant future, you're going to have like robots doing a lot of your police work. Uh,
Really.
yeah, they're already out there. Look, they got that robot that looks like a dog going through the parks at telling people to social distance.
I have not. You've seen one of those?
Yeah, I saw the video already here in the United States, or maybe it was Canada, but
Mhm.
definitely, yeah, they're definitely out there. And then you have the ones we have one in the shopping, in the supermarket, and I thought of a funny. Did you ever see the ones in the supermarket?
Yeah, I did see. We do have like one, and it's like slow, and it's hard to take the thing
Yeah.
seriously because it doesn't tell you to move around. It's just actually it's moving around. Actually, I think probably just vacuuming the floor.
I don't know what the fuck it's doing, but I had it as a security one, right? And it's following this really shady looking white guy. He's white, but he's got like a beard, and he's got
Mhm.
like a long coat, and he's always looking around. It looks like he's stealing, and you see this security robot following him around everywhere, and then all of a sudden, in the middle of following him around, the robot sees a black guy walking this way, and he just takes off after the black guy.
No, is that a sketch or is
The
that for
sketch
real?
I have, yeah, that I want to do.
We'll do it
Because
quick
the
before
whole
this comes
point is
out.
even the
Yeah,
robots in the future are racist.
I've been programmed. Oh man.
So yeah, it's going to be a really tough go of it, I would imagine. I always thought the smart thing to do was to stay ahead of it, to make it seem like you know you're in control, but you have to know when to loosen the reins, because if you lose control, then you lost control. It's a bad look, man. It shows, and you can't have anarchy running around. The people that get attacked and wind up suffering are the people the most vulnerable.
Yeah, like I saw this woman, she like I don't know, she was obviously like this female cop. I think it was in the city. There was like a skirmish and she ended up like sort of falling and then like backstepping a lot and falling into the subway. And
Wow.
I just was like, wow, that seems like I don't know. And I'm not a cop, so I don't know like what she could have done better. But I wonder how many cops are like afraid of doing something that looks bad on camera, or they're afraid to police and they end up either getting hurt or like yeah, losing control. Like I wonder how big of a percentage of cops feel that way.
You know, when there used to be a standard. You have to be a certain height.
Hmm.
You have to,
Really?
you
How
know,
tall did you have to be?
I think it was 5'10". I think it was 5'10". You had to be, and a lot of times, people were like 5'8", 5'9". And
Do you
so
think they wore lifts to their interview?
well, I think you had to take your shoes off. But what they used to do was, supposedly they used to drive you straight to the place to get your test, like in a van in a bed, so you were lying down. Then they would open the doors and you'd run in and just jump on the scale, because the tallest you're ever going to be during in the day is after you wake up.
Oh, wow.
The rest of
Yeah.
the day, your bones and everything, you just start going down to your normal height. So there was those stories about.
But how big of a difference does that actually make? Like an inch?
Yeah, it might. I
Wow.
guess they used to do it. It's a real thing. You know what I was thinking about? I was at a traffic light and I was looking at this guy walking across the street, and I'm like, if this guy gets the Rona, he's a goner. You know what I'm saying? Have you
A
been doing
cop or
that?
just
Like
a
just
civilian?
evaluating people's life expectancy, like we've become experts at that?
Oh, was this a cop or just a regular person?
No, this is just me in my car, and I'm just watching this guy walk across the street, and I'm like, if this guy gets the Rona, he's a goner.
He
He's
didn't look
overweight.
vibrant.
He's
Yeah.
old. He's got his max down underneath here. Well, I think he wore it here, but like his nose was sticking out. There's a lot of holes. You could see he's just. There's
Not
just
with
these
it.
people that you look at and you're like, I'm surprised you're still here, man.
Yeah,
You
you
made it
feel
this
bad, but
far.
then you're like, oh, but like, your life is a series of choices, and it's like you didn't just wake up like that. Like that's 40 years of bad decision making.
Yeah, I mean, when you go to the doctor and the doctor tells you, well, you should really lose a little bit of weight, or maybe cut down on smoking, or not drink so much. Your blood pressure's high. You're really heavy. You're all this stuff. What they're telling you basically is, if you get one more thing, right now you're okay, but if you get one more thing, you're probably gonna be dead. And this is that one more thing that they've
Oh
been
yeah,
warning you about this whole fucking time. And
yeah,
then we're out here doing everything to keep the death rate low and people don't die. And you see these fucking people outside that shouldn't be outside. You're like, dude, we're doing this for. I'm fucking doing this for you. Go home, you fat fuck. Go eat. This is your moment.
yeah. These aren't mostly very healthy people dying from the coronavirus. It's like people like. Yeah, if you're living most of your life hanging on, like you're 6 inches away from passing away over the next thing, like you should really keep yourself so that you've got some leeway, like so that you've got like a bit
Yeah,
of a long leash on health.
yeah. So that was my observation. I've become certified an expert in life expectancy. I can tell
Expert
you how much.
judger. So when did they start loosening the rules on height for being a cop?
I don't know. I guess probably around the same time where they started wanting to recruit more females, and then there was an ad. Everything has always been like to just make the job, so it was everybody could get it. When it's not really a job that everybody should be doing.
No, not everyone should be a
And I'm
cop.
not
Like,
saying that
yeah,
I work with plenty of female officers that were far better shape, far better police officers than a lot of male officers that I worked with. I don't think that makes a bit of difference at all. But I think you have to take care of yourself physically. You have to be, you have to be able to handle yourself, because people take advantage of you. And this is the street we're talking about. This is people that are, dangerous. They fight on a daily basis. They enjoy a confrontation. If you
hmm.
can't handle that, then you're going to have a really hard time on the job.
Do you think that they'll send like the smaller women or like the smaller men to maybe like less physical spots?
I don't
you're
know.
never gonna
I
know.
never thought of that, but I don't think so.
No, wow.
You know?
Because if I was a cop, I'd be like, keep me like, I don't know, by the middle school or keep me like by the elementary. Like, I want to handle people that
Uh-huh.
are 5 feet and shorter. Like, I wouldn't want.
I think that might happen to you once you get to a command. They might
Mhm.
take a look at you and be like, well, we can't put her in sector Charlie David because that's the busiest sector. It's got, two projects in there. They're going to be handled. But I don't know if you can really, evaluate somebody's toughness by looking at them physically. So maybe
Right.
the height requirements, but there's a certain attitude that you have to have. You're not going to take shit. You know what I'm saying? You have to have a tough veneer, and you can't be soft. And
No smiling.
sometimes the little guys are way tougher. They're more tougher than the taller guys. Taller guys probably feeling, that he could he could handle himself just because he's taller, and the little guys are always just like, I'd probably be more scared of having to deal with a shorter officer sometimes because they got that chip on their shoulder. You know what I'm saying?
Because they've got that extra like Napoleon vibe.
Yeah, they're gonna get you harder.
It's crazy. How are you feeling about, nobody's been doing any comedy gigs for 2 months now. You must miss the road and performing.
You know what? I think it's in the beginning it was bothering me a lot. Like, and I'm still very angry about it. I'm not gonna lie. But I'm writing a screenplay right now, and I got this master class thing that I bought. Well, actually, it was a birthday present, an early birthday present.
Oh, who's masterclass?
Well, you could get the whole series for $180.
Oh, right. And then you can
And
watch
for
whoever
some
you want.
reason, as soon as I had something to look forward to come home, because I'm still working. I work part-time, 4 days a week I work. I work as a concierge in the building in the city.
Oh, right.
So when I was coming home, I was just getting fucked up every day. Like, that was it. I would just get fucked up from the time I got home. And it was like, now I have these master classes that, I can take and I have something that I can learn. And I always love learning. So now I come home, I get fucked up and I watch the master class.
Does it require any like writing or like work?
It's whatever you want to do it.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I like it because as I'm writing my screenplay and working on that sometimes I need a break from writing. 4 or 5 hours passes by, and your brain is like, I just get this feeling. I'm sure you get it. I don't know how you feel, but when like you realize it's 4 p.m, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you're still in your pajamas, you haven't brushed your teeth yet.
Yeah, that's soul
You haven't
crushing.
washed
You're
your
like,
face yet.
Shower. Yeah.
It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You still haven't eaten breakfast yet because you've been writing. And when you write, the time goes so much faster.
Well, good for you that you like have that spark and it lasts that long.
But then I put on the master class and I kind of sort of, now I'm not working on my script, but then I'm watching Martin Scorsese masterclass and he says something. So I stop it, I pause it, and then I write that down. And then I might have a thought about my script. So then I go back and I work on that little piece and then I go back to the master class. So there's this whole thing.
Breaks are so important. It's like, I think and breaks feel better when your day is a little bit more routine, a little bit more like regimented. Like you have, like, I was definitely in a funk. Like I mean, like I know I can get depressed like pretty quickly and I can get to that place. Like this has all the makings of like, when I was like unemployed, I would, yeah, exactly. No motivation to wake up like 1 o'clock. You'd be like, what's the point? And it's so easy. Now we have an opportunity where we could do this for 2 months. Like it could be, you could really let yourself go on every facet, or you can just, and then finally after like, several weeks, I kind of just, I don't know, woke up and I was like, I'm going to start recording a lot. It's something like Frank said to me. And I was just like, yeah, I want to record a lot of podcasts and I want to like be really busy. And then when you do work, and I did do like, a few in a row, then when you do take that hour break, you're like, oh, wow, like I've earned it. I've earned a break and it feels good.
Yeah. Like I'm looking at the people that, are on unemployment and they don't have to worry about money and they have all this time on their hands. If you're not coming out of this with something, not the average person, fuck it, what you do, whatever you do. But if you're supposed to be a comedian and you're not coming out of this with something, you didn't write a new show, it's hard for me to write comedy material right now. I'm just,
yeah, me too. I'm
not getting on stage. I don't really consider doing Zoom comedy.
It's not.
And I don't want to get used to it. If that's the way it's going to be, then I'm probably not going to be doing it anymore.
I don't think that's going to be the way it is. I think a lot of people agree that it's not real comedy. You're not getting a real read on your stuff. So it's like writing is great, and then sort of like, okay, just put that away, and if and when you can get back on stage, try it out then. But I don't think, as long as you're writing something, you're working those muscles, whether you're doing like, Instagram lives or podcasts, it's like you're still staying kind of in that shape. You're keeping your flow going, like whatever you need to do to keep your like creative flow. You don't necessarily have to like result to stand up over Zoom in front of
You know
like,
what the difference is really? It's like the late night talk shows. Are you coming out to do a set or are you going to sit next to Johnny? Either way, you still
yeah,
got to be funny. But one feels comfortable and the other one doesn't. Now, if you're going to do your stand-up set, at least, even though it's the audience is there to see Johnny and they're being laughing on cue, at least there's a rhythm, a pace about it. Uh, it's not that I miss the people in the audience so much. I don't really give a shit about that. But it's feeling that laughter, so you pace yourself.
yeah.
You're not getting any of that.
It's like the audience is the ocean, and like you're in a boat, right? And it's like,
Surfing.
if there's sure, you can still get in the boat, but like you can't feel where you are, you know?
Yeah, it's not and I it's not that I can't do it. Do you know what I'm saying? I could, do my whole
Yeah.
thing into a camera and pretend, and act it out and pretend like I'm having a great time. But I just don't, the reward for me isn't there.
It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel even close to what it feels like getting in front of. You need the bodies like near you to feel that
Yeah.
energy, and you can't
And that
feel
being
that over
said,
Zoom.
I just have getting my first paid Zoom gig.
Wow.
So that actually felt good.
Okay, that's good.
So that could be like, for example, if the whole thing did just transition into this nonsense and then, but we were getting paid, that would be the payoff.
Yeah.
Like, fuck it.
Then that's just another thing that you do to get paid, just
Yeah.
like
So
all
it's
the
all
other
about,
gigs.
to
Yeah.
me, it's a lot of it has to do with the money.
Yeah.
I love making money doing comedy.
Yeah. You mentioned before that you still feel angry about not performing, or is it more like you're angry about the circumstances?
Well, what's funny is after 9/11, when I was a cop during 9/11, and I remember it was about 2 weeks in, I hadn't performed once since 9/11, and I was standing by a window in my house, and I was looking out of it, and I was so angry. And I wasn't angry because people died. That none of that. Oh, I was just so pissed that I couldn't be on stage. It was like one of the most like selfish moments that I you could have, and I caught myself in that, and I was like, shame on you.
Hmm.
People died. This is a fucking people lost loved ones. And this is what you're thinking about. And I was beating myself up in my head, but that's a real moment. Like you're angry about that you can't. Somebody put this obstacle in your way that you can't do what you want. So we're in the
Yeah.
same predicament, except this one isn't like a severe toothache. You know what I'm saying? Where you need an emergency. This is the one that you keep going to work every day for a fucking week and you still got the toothache and it won't go away.
It's dragging
You know what I'm
on.
saying?
Yeah.
It's fucking annoying.
Yeah, it really is.
And it's like, all right, I get it. No matter what anybody says, to me anyway, I want to show me the death toll. That's all I give a fuck about.
The real numbers, which don't
Just
seem to
show me the
exist.
death toll. They never
Yeah.
show you that because
No.
they keep talking about people that get infected. I don't give a fuck about that. You got a cold. For some
Yeah.
people, a large group, it's going to be a cold. For some, you got a flu. It took you 2 weeks to beat it. And then, unfortunately, there's going to be people who are more serious but then win in the end
Yeah.
after a month. And then there's going to be people who die. That's all I want to know is,
Right.
tell me, how many people die doing this?
And what most people don't know, the average person doesn't know how many people get the random regular ass flu every year. Most people don't know how many people get bad colds every year. So now it's like, we're not aware of these numbers. All these numbers are being conflated and exaggerated. And we all know that doctors and hospitals get more money if they say it's a COVID related illness or death. So we have no clue what the real numbers are, and it's really maddening.
Some places are lowering their numbers for whatever reason. New York City was admitted to adding numbers to the death toll, like 3,000. uh, in a day, I think it was non-COVID related. Just so it's just we'll never know because it's become so politicized that
Yeah.
you're getting these two different versions. And one hand, like for example, in New York City, that if you don't have a mask on, somebody's looking at you and like, some old lady's like, "Where's your mask?"
Oh, yeah.
And then if you go upstate, further upstate, and you have a mask on, they're looking at you like, "What are you wearing a fucking mask for?"
That's kind of like, it's interesting because all my friends that live in the city have been saying, like, yeah, if they happen to go walk their dog without a mask, like someone will say something to them. But I live in Westchester, and like that's never happened to like me and Frank. And like when we go on walks or bikes or runs, like we don't wear them because it's like I'm not gonna pass out running with a mask on
I
in
know, and it's the
heat.
stupidest thing in the world too to run with a mask on
Yeah.
because
Oh, but we see it all the time.
all that carbon dioxide that we're trying to release
Yeah.
is going right back in your lungs. It's
It's
not
really
supposed to happen
bad.
that way.
It's really
Yeah, it's
bad. It
fucking
really affects
idiotic.
you. Yeah.
It's just what we've done to this COVID thing, and how some states are trying desperately to hold on to it, and some are like opening up maybe a little bit too early, but the ones that are desperately trying to hold on to it for what? How long are we going to drag this?
Yeah. Because I think they feel it's like, unfortunately it's more the Democratic states, and they're for kind of more government anyway, and they feel like, wow, I've never felt more power than in this moment when I can keep everybody shut down.
Well,
And
how quick do people fall into this fucking like you hear people bitching about having to go back to work. Oh, I'm scared. I don't know if I'm ready to come back yet.
it's like, yeah, are you
And then you
really?
tell them, well, listen, you can come back if you want, but if you don't, they're going to cut off your unemployment. Oh man, really? All right. And then they come back like
I guess I'm
they're
not scared
they
anymore.
fell
Yeah.
in love with this unemployment, with staying home, with not doing anything. And this is what's good. My prediction of what's going to happen in the future is this right here, because once we get more technology, robots, there's really not like once the trucks can drive,
Oh,
themselves across country. You just eliminated truck drivers, which is less than 10 years away from happening.
that's
There's
really
going to be
sad.
so many more people staying home, and you're going to have major companies like Amazon, and they're just going to pay you to stay home. They're going to give you your unemployment. They're going to send you food. They're going to send you, and you're just going to stay, and eat until your heart explodes, and that's going to be it. That's going to be your life. Um,
That's
and
really
this is
sad.
what we're basically getting
Yeah,
prepared for.
they're already paying off farmers right now to stop farming, to like stop growing crops, which is really scary because it's like, oh well, then who's going to be in control of our food supply then? It's
Yeah, they had they had to kill like I don't know 10 million pigs or some shit,
yeah, it's
which is it's. I saw a picture of potatoes, like
yeah, the
hundreds of thousands of
onions,
potatoes that
yeah.
had to be buried because they can't be consumed. They couldn't get to where they had to get. They're gonna be bad by the time they get there.
Yeah, like the distribution is all fucked up right now. Like apparently like meat is coming through to the US through I think possibly some countries in Africa, but we can't distribute our own meat and our own produce from our own like US farmers because of these fucking rules right now. And then that's the stuff you see going bad. So it's like, ugh.
Well, listen, we're caught up right now in between a time where they have one side who will do absolutely anything, including sacrifice human lives because they think
Mhm.
it's for the better of the country for the future, and that's to get rid of our current president.
Yeah.
That's their sole motivation. They don't care when you see somebody standing in front of their second Sub-Zero. Nancy Pelosi had two
I
Sub-Zero.
saw that. Oh my
Dude, she
God.
had one over here and one right next to it.
Ew.
And she
Like,
opens that
couldn't
thing
she
up.
have just angled her camera so that only one of the fridges was in the shot? She's so
And then
oblivious.
it's the one with the
The pull
freezer on the
out.
bottom,
Yep.
which I've never had one of those in my life
That's
because
crazy
I can't afford
bougie.
it.
And she's
And
so
then
out
it's
of touch.
stacked with
Yeah. Oh,
this ice cream that costs like between $12 and $14 a gallon.
yeah. It's like our,
It's
and
like,
then someone was like, oh, she's supporting a small business. I'm like, yeah, but that ice cream is still like over $10 a
okay, show me the receipt where she paid for that, and I'll
yeah,
believe
right.
it.
I'm sure they sent it to her too.
If anything, maybe she was doing a plug for them.
That's true.
The
That's
whole thing
true.
could have been set up so, listen, we'll throw you some money.
Yeah.
and some ice cream.
And she's so out of touch that she doesn't even realize how bad that looks until the general population
All of them,
responds
they're
to it.
all like, just it looks like if you sucked God out of them. Her and Maxine Walters and then the fat one, what's his name, Humpty Dumpty, and Shift. It looks like he's just like they just I don't know. I can't
Yeah.
stand looking at them.
Yeah. It's gross. They seem like, I don't know, like the part of their humanity is gone.
What
And
about all these people that
yeah.
aren't working right now? The entertainers, like just to sit still because that is your that's where you fall politically and believe this nonsense when your livelihood at stake. Like, you're a Broadway actor right now. You're not the lead. You're in the
Like in
I
the
forget what the fucking name of
chorus,
the
right?
thing.
Or like, yeah.
You're one of the cast members.
Mhm.
This was your first run. This show might not get picked up again. Um, I just moved into a new place in the city because I could afford it now or whatever, or I got my own place in
Yeah.
Brooklyn and, all these things. And now you're sitting here on your hands.
And then the shows have been canceled for the rest of the year. A
And
lot of
how
them
are they
have
going
been
to
moved
fix that?
back. Yeah.
You can have a fucking theater, a Broadway theater, and people aren't going to sit next to each other.
Yeah. It's what makes New York special is like the Broadway shows, the comedy shows, the live music.
Forget about
Um,
comedy clubs coming back. How could I could tell you if you got 100 seats there, you're going to turn the room over twice. Everybody gets 2 drinks. I could tell you exactly what we're going to make tonight if we got 2 sold out
yeah.
shows. It's a very easy, and every one of these places kind of sort of relies and has that,
I'm making that much. Yeah.
yeah, in order to survive. Not even, comedy club owners, I'm sure, are not thriving. It's something that you do because you love and you just want to be
Right.
part of it, part of the business and involved in it. And they're not going to be able to open up half these places if you cut down their room size.
Yeah, it's like already it's like, okay, let's say you miraculously have 2 months of rent and expenses saved up as like a small business owner, right? And you don't own the building, so you're like, for some reason, if you've managed to pay that for 2 months and then you open up again and now you're only making half or a third of what you were normally, it will take so long to get back to making a profit.
And there's going to just imagine the vacant commercial real estate in this city when you still probably have that stupid law. They have a law in the city here where I can keep my place closed. So there used to be let's say a CVS around the corner, and now it's closed. And it's a huge thing. It's like a 20,000 square foot place. You know how big a CVS is.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And apparently, their lease was up. So now what the landlord does is they are going to hold out until they get a comparative what's going on here. And by comparative, it means, well, that person got somebody to sign a lease for $100,000 a month. So I'm right across the street. I should be able to get that too. And I don't have to open up until I get that, and I'll get a tax break on this property.
Wow.
So it sits there vacant until you get this magical number because
Wow.
this stupid law. And you're going to have all businesses all over the city like that. Unless they change that law and say, listen, you're not getting a break on your property. You still got to pay property tax. That's when they have to rent, and they're going to rent to whatever they can get.
Which is interesting because I just thought it would be the small businesses, the small, chains closing down. But now it's like, oh wow, this can affect like a corporate chain like CVS.
Well, I mean, if they were basically, some flagship stores, for example, like you have those flagship stores that never make any money. But we're looking to downsize on brick and mortar anyway, mostly doing most of our business online. That place on 57th Street that eats up $250,000 bucks a month. What the fuck do we need that for? Now you got a huge space on 57th Street that used to be like a very touristy area.
What, like the new Nordstroms that opened up there? Are you talking about that? on
Well,
57th
that's a
Street?
brand new one, but
Yeah.
these other like Gucci or whatever,
Mhm.
a lot of those stores are like they don't make any money. Who's walking down 57th Street?
Or like Columbus Circle? I mean, I imagine because that's a big tourist spot too.
Uh huh.
So they might be okay. God, it's hard to know.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm talking out of my ass right now. Go on.
What's like the most disappointing is that we have set up like a lot of people to be very comfortable not going to work. Like I think a new set of people who are really comfortable collecting unemployment and making no use of themselves and not like right. It's we've set it up so that you can say, oh, I don't feel safe. Let me stay home and keep collecting unemployment. And kind of we've allowed that to be
You
a
know what?
thing. Like
Honestly,
that's
though,
okay.
honestly, I just thought of something. What you just said right now. If you told me, said, listen, I'm gonna take $200 out of your paycheck every single month to make sure that this fucking asshole that I work with that comes in late every day and calls in sick, fucking 20 times a year, he don't have to come in no more. I say, you know what? All right, here's my $200. I hate working
Ideal.
with this motherfucker. You can't count on him. Let him stay home. I don't give a shit. And I think that's better for everybody. We don't need so many people working. Half these jobs are fucking bullshit anyway.
Hmm.
Let them stay home. All they do is fuck up work anyway.
Hmm.
They're always taking advantage. They always call, they come in late, and when they do come in, and then they're always going sick, and you don't at the last minute you're stuck doing a double. Fuck
Yeah.
it, keep them home. Nobody needs that. Give me somebody else who wants to work.
That's true. That's really terrible when you work with somebody who's just doesn't care and their heart's not in it. And yeah,
But
but
there's
it's,
a lot of those people here.
yeah,
I always tell people you don't know anybody until you work with them. Do you know what I'm
it's
saying?
true.
Like this, we're social. We go out. We'll have a couple of drinks. We have a blast. I think you're a fucking dynamite person. And then for some reason, we got to work together.
Then you really know.
And you're like every night at 11 o'clock when your shift ends at 12, you're like, hey, you know what? Do you think I could slip in a little early, or they're taking an extra fucking 20 minutes at lunch?
That's hard. Yeah, I've never actually, when I was a lifeguard would be like the only job I've had where someone had to replace me. But since then, like I haven't worked a job like nurses, I think are like that. Cops, somebody has to like
Yeah,
come
it's a
and get you.
face-to-face relief.
Yeah. Wow. That's hard, but it's like I wonder what's going to happen because like anybody can say, "Oh, I don't feel safe. Oh, I'm still afraid," And we've hyped up this virus so much that
We're all
that's kind of
afraid.
really
Everybody here is
acceptable.
afraid.
Yeah.
Everybody's afraid. Nobody's not afraid. But we're coming in because we're not fucking degenerates.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We're not fucking skells. This is, we're doing it. We gotta have a responsibility. This is what being a human is about.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, that's a good idea. What I have, I'd rather have control of where my tax dollars go.
Like pay off the guy you don't want to work with instead
Yeah,
of
like listen, so and so wants to stay home. Do you mind giving him the money? No. All right, fucking stay home, everybody. Fucking guy's useless anyway. Who wants him
It's really funny.
here?
Yeah, I feel bad. Like I've been in the city since this has happened, and it's like somebody sucked all the life out of the whole city and then just sort of
They
replaced
gave
it
up
with
so easy, man.
yeah.
They come out at 7 o'clock every day to fucking bang the pots and pans and go woo for the
Oh,
frontline
right.
workers. And don't get me wrong, the first week I was all about it. The hospitals are fucking dwindling down. Almost nobody there for this fucking COVID.
They're
So
really
okay,
yeah.
easy.
They're
And if this
not
is the
busy.
biggest part of your day, your child has to come out from inside that they've been all fucking day just to get a tiny little bit, 2 minutes of sunlight, so you can clap like fucking idiots to nobody. Because it's not like they're coming out of the hospital here. There's not one of
Yeah.
them here. You know
Wow.
what I'm saying?
You don't see them walking by at 7.
At least give us one or two off shift.
Yeah.
Put your fucking your scrubs on and take the walk like a parade. So you can. That's what I would do. Imagine if there's people doing that, like taking the Valor,
Oh my
you know,
God.
and
Yes,
putting on scrubs and walking down the street while everybody's clapping at
absolutely.
7.
You would go to Amazon
Why
right
doesn't
now,
anybody
order
do
some
that?
scrubs, Mark, and then put them on, and you.
Me and you, we could do that.
So we could soak up some of that parade love, yeah, and
Yeah,
just
yeah.
be
What is
like,
that called? It's called something
look
Valor.
tired, and be like,
Stolen
no, please,
Valor.
please don't,
Yeah, yeah,
That's a
yeah.
great idea.
Stolen
Yeah,
Valor. We should, that would be a great sketch. You put like 3 or 4 of us in scrubs and just let us walk around and let people go nuts and kiss our ass. We'll start signing autographs.
Scrubs are easier to get than like old military, costumes, uniforms, easy.
We got to sign autographs and take pictures with people.
Wear Crocs.
Online.
You're just like, I'm so tired. Please don't.
One of us has to wear the fucking. You'd have to have the mask, well, the one mask and the other one on top, then the face shield, then the full body thing.
The beekeeper outfit,
And then me, I wouldn't wear anything. I would just have the stethoscope and the regular scrubs, no mask, no nothing. I'd wave.
Or you're like twirling a stethoscope, you're shirtless. You're like,
you could do that part.
Or like I could be in like a nurse's, like a Halloween nurse outfit.
Yeah, an old-fashioned nurse's outfit.
Yeah. Like I work in a different kind of office. Thank you.
Oh my God, that's so funny. It's so ridiculous.
It's really, really too much. Like, and people don't realize that their liberties and rights are being just taken away over the. Oh well, we want to protect some people's health, so everyone has to suffer, pretty much.
I just think, you know what, we found out what we're happiest at, and that is, for a lot of people, is doing nothing. I mean, even if I had the choice, I'd want to do something.
Yeah.
I could not sit there zoning out all day between TV shows and looking at my phone. I like doing that for an hour or two a day before I go to sleep, winding down.
Yeah.
But I couldn't have my whole day like that.
You know what it is? It's like, it's so easy to judge these people that like are happy doing nothing, but it's like, but I feel bad. It's because nothing has like struck them. Like if you're not receiving any like divine inspiration from above, you know what I mean? If you don't feel called to do a particular thing with your life, if you truly are okay. And like, I think my mom and dad were like this. Like they weren't particularly creative. They had no urge to like, or they weren't making moves to pursue anything in particular. They just worked their jobs and like kind of complained about it and like had kids and that was it. And if you feel called to something and doing nothing, like that's on you. That's terrible. But if you actually,
I bet you that's not the case at all. Have you ever talked to them about that?
Well, my mom's dead, so I can't talk to her right now. I think my dad always wanted to be a park ranger, but he just like never made any moves towards it.
Yeah, I wouldn't ask any more questions after that either.
Yeah.
Like once you start with Dad, didn't you ever want to be something? And then he goes, well, I wanted to be a park ranger. You're like, all right, Dad, thanks a lot.
I think, when it has come up, when I have talked to my dad about it, he's very quick to be like, well, I was a dad. I had to feed you kids. Like, very much like he's a saint for sticking around. And
well, what I think
like he wasn't really around.
Is what the American dream was.
Yeah.
Back then, to be gainfully employed back then was that was the primary goal.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And he's a German immigrant, so like for him.
So that's it. I mean, at that point right there, these lofty goals are, first of all, a lot of them, look at the fucking predicament all these comedians are in. You know what I'm saying? Because they got this freaking dream of being a comedian. First of all, nobody ever tells them that most of the comedians that make it come from rich parents that live in the city already and know somebody in the business.
That's a huge leg up. To not have to pay city rent, but you can still live in the city is tremendous,
You're competing against somebody that doesn't have to go to work tomorrow, doesn't have to worry about bills.
They can spend their full mental capacity.
They can run around all day on their skateboard in their backpack at 26 years old and do all these different spots. And at some point when they're ready, they're going to, they have somebody who's ready to take them under their wing and hire them to do this and get them in the business. It's nobody tells you that when you're doing comedy.
Because you go to open mics, you go to shows, and everyone seems equal. You're like, okay, well, this is ethnically diverse, and everyone's very quick to talk about the importance of that in comedy, but nobody really talks about like financial diversity and people don't, and I think civilians don't really realize that either. It's like, oh, like why aren't we seeing more, like black and brown people in improv? It's like because they don't like. I don't know, like a lot of people don't have $400 or $500 to spend on an improv class, and
Yeah, yeah. And then, it's just the whole entertainment thing. It's not for everybody. There's no somebody who's gonna, like, look at what happened right now. And to tell you the truth, I don't even know how people are surviving. If comedy
yeah,
was the primary source of income, maybe, I'm sure that if I didn't have this job, I would have had to do some research and figure out, take this stack of W-9s and send them to this fucking place, show how much money I made last year, and this is what I'm missing out on my income. But
yeah.
they probably wouldn't give me shit anyway because I have a pension.
Right. It is tricky because it's like luckily some people can work from home, but like I know a guy, Sean Morton, he just quit his day job to do comedy full time before
Yeah.
this happened. And so it's like exactly, if you don't have rich parents or you're not doing some other job where you can work remotely, I don't know. I think a lot of the people in between have moved back to their parents and if they're young enough, if it's like okay, and if you're in that age range where
What
it's
is
still
young
okay.
enough?
God,
38?
I would imagine like the moving young enough to move back to your parents, so you
You
don't.
know what's young enough? If they're still alive and you can move back with them.
I guess so. I guess so. I just think now, at like in my 30s, to move back to my parents, like I would do everything I could to have that not happen.
And
Um,
then the fact that the business format for comedy is so horrible.
yeah,
There's you could do this literally for 20 years and you didn't accumulate, and if you didn't put money aside, which if you're in the city is going to be hard.
it's gonna be
I mean, you
paycheck to
got, look,
paycheck.
just if I gave you $1,000 a week for your comedy and I guaranteed you that money for 50 weeks out of the year plus a paid vacation, guess what you'd have? $50,000 a year.
Which is like, yeah,
Nothing. It's
this is like,
fucking nothing.
it's like really hard to live on that.
And
Yeah,
people would die. They would die for that.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? It's nothing. And then you get no 401k, you get no pension. Um, and now here you are 20 years later. And if you're lucky enough, you get a writing. Let's say you had a good year, 2 good years. You made 250,000 last year,
yeah.
followed by 150, and now you're gonna. It still doesn't balance out to security and like in a lifelong, survival in New York City. You get either
Yeah.
it's not the city to starve in at 40 years old, because you realize you wasted a lot of fucking time.
It really affects you. And like I sometimes have days where I'm like, wow, like should I have chosen a different path? Like should I have had kids already? Like, but I haven't because I don't feel like I make enough money. So it's like, wow, is that going to be something I end up regretting, and then I hear like my parents' voice, like, oh, make sure you own, they kind of were always saying it, like, don't really pursue comedy. But it's times like this, like pandemic stuff, that makes you go, oh shit, like this really isn't. And it's like the
Well,
older you get, the more it hits you, like that, this
don't
might not
forget
be.
too, for every one of you, there's how many who've been doing it as long as you and aren't even they're like so far behind,
Hmm.
and they continue. It's not like sports in a way.
Yeah.
Like if you were on sports, right, and you made it to be a professional baseball player in Double A, at some point they're gonna send you home if they know you're not
Yes.
gonna
Yeah,
make
they
it.
go, you're not going to get any better. You're getting older without getting better. Right. You're just,
Yeah, you're not,
they let you
obviously.
go.
You know for yourself too that you're not competing anymore.
Yeah.
So,
Nobody's doing that. Nobody's letting people go in comedy. And maybe
yeah,
that's,
somebody should call you over, like in the office, and go, "Listen, this isn't really working out."
yeah, like Mark Norman calls you over. It's like, I've been tasked with, I have to
Yeah,
let you go.
yeah.
What was it like performing stand up while being a cop?
Well, I wasn't doing any police material, so I
Mm.
was like, just basically like, I guess you could say like every other comic with no life experience, because what do you have to joke about? Or what's going on in pop culture doesn't mean that you can't
Yeah.
be funny.
Talk about
You could
Tinder,
be
I guess.
hysterical. You could just be pop culture, observations, um, everything that goes on in your life except for real shit.
Was it hard to not talk about being a cop?
Sometimes it was, especially when there was stuff that happened in the news or something that I was funny.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to. I just didn't want to combine the two worlds while I was still on the job, because I always feared that the job has a lot of power over you. That somebody was going to be like, "Hey, we don't want you doing this anymore."
That's pretty scary. Yeah, thinking like anybody could record you, or I don't know, somehow get back to your boss or something.
Yeah, fortunately, it was a different time. We weren't doing so much recording, but I actually
Okay.
was in, so you talk about experiences. One time, I, uh, I was doing a set at the Boston Comedy Club, and this girl came up to me after the show, and I just thought it was going to be somebody that, was telling me how funny I was. So I was like, "Yeah, hey, what's up? How is you?" She goes, "Aren't you a detective?" And I'm like, looking around, I'm like, "Yes." She goes, "You're handling my case." And I'm
Oh
like,
my
"Yeah,
God.
yeah, yeah." And so, well, how's it going? Like they were like upset that like on my free time, not working, that I
Wait, why are
wasn't.
you not working on her case right now?
What do you say to that?
Yeah. Be
Yeah,
like,
is it
well, do
like,
you think I was funny? Because,
well, that's probably like. Did you enjoy the set though?
yeah.
I was
Did you feel like you had to hide the fact that you did stand up from your cop friends?
no, no. They all knew, and they were very, very supportive. As a matter of fact, I was working in a detective squad, which is, I don't know. It's you're basically, they call it doing patrol in a suit. It's a lot of work. The amount of work is, I can't even tell you how much work it is. The cases, especially if you work in a precinct that's busy, there's just cases coming in all the time, and it was, I was hating my life
What
because
kinds of cases like would
I
be
used to
most common?
investigate robberies and burglaries for
Mhm.
the most part, and then when I was part of that's it's called RIP or RAM, uh, robbery apprehension module. But when I wasn't investigating those, sometimes I'd be in the squad, and then you're investigating assaults, uh, every other type of felony that is not a robbery or a burglary. And it was just always so much, and I wanted to get out of there, and it took me like 5 years to get out of there. I never wanted to go there in the first place. I was working where I wanted to work,
Mhm.
and then I got put over there. So I was this disgruntled, but you got to keep it inside because I'm not an unhappy person. No matter what my
Yeah.
circumstances is, I'm always going to be happy. I can't live like that.
Yeah.
So, but deep down inside, I wanted to get out of there. And then I got out of there. I went to this place where it was perfect for me. And the reason why I got there was because, once again, I'm at a show, and a detective that was in the audience came up to me and he goes, "Hey, aren't you on the job?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, um, "Weren't you trying to get over to the training unit?" And I was like, "Yeah, I've been trying to get there." He goes, "I work there. The captain is, he's my, one of my," he goes, "Give me one of those DVDs." So I gave him a DVD, and he showed it to the captain, and I was transferred there within like, and nobody could believe that I got
Oh
out.
my God, that's
Well,
that's
because a lot of it
amazing.
had to do with, when you're in the training unit, you have to talk in front of people.
Okay.
So nobody wanted to do that anyway. People hate doing that.
People hate public
And they
speaking.
had openings for there, and I just happened to be perfect for it because I love talking in front of people.
That's really that's amazing.
But the comedy wound up actually helping me
Good.
big time.
Would your cop friends like come to shows ever?
They'd come to shows. I remember the first part because I was an actor first. So the first part that I ever had on TV, the guys that I worked with drove me to my callback. And then when
Wow.
I got down, when I got the part, I didn't tell them right away. I came out of this building in the city where I had my call back, and you got 6 cops in a van waiting for you, and they're like, "So what happened?" I'm like, and they're like, "Don't worry, bro, we'll get him next time." I'm like, "Nah, I got it." And
Ah.
everybody jumped on me, and they were like, "Do, do,
Aw.
do, 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 do." Then everybody watched it. We had a watch party.
What was the part for?
I played a boxer on this show. It was Danny Aiello's show,
Mhm.
and it was called Della Ventura.
Mhm.
He played a private eye. He was on CBS. And thank God my part was big. I mean, for the first time that I was ever on television, I had a guest starring role where, I had 8 scenes in it.
Wow.
So, you actually, it's not like, and even now, I haven't gotten a part since that big. You know what I'm saying? On TV. I've gotten a bunch of parts, and
Mhm.
there's, I wouldn't do anything if it wasn't a part, like a talking part. I'm way past
You
that.
wouldn't
But
be a dead body?
well, it also depends. Well, how that's not a bad part though. I mean, if you, what are you saying? I got to lay
I
there?
mean, like if you're yeah, like some people like you're a crime scene body in like Law and Order or something. Those are the parts
Listen,
I
like I said, if I'm laying on something, where am I laying right now?
that's
Is it a
true.
bed?
Is it something soft? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I can do that.
Like, is it a murder scene? There's like other dead, like hot girls around. Yeah.
Uh-huh. If it was a party scene and whatever, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they've been nothing but supportive, and
That's great.
it's it's like family.
I've always felt like in every day job I've ever had that like ultimately it's been a bad idea to tell people that I do comedy because you get just judged for it and it's like always I think ultimately negative like just the kind of jobs I've had like I've worked like admissions for a private school, I've worked at NYU, I've worked like tons of like administrative assistant, executive assistant jobs and it's like you really can't tell your boss. If you do, they're going to take you less seriously. They're going to think like, what, you're not a career secretary, how dare you know what I mean, like
Hmm.
how dare you have something that you like to do that's not like this mind-numbing paper pushing job. So and then sometimes you'll have coworkers that would be supportive but then they all like you come up to your desk like expecting you to be like always on and you're like I have to answer phones like I can't.
That's where it would come in
Yeah.
handy if we had my tax situation,
Mm-hmm.
because people could be like, "Hey, you know what? We really like Chrissy and we want her to make it, but it's not. She shouldn't have to come in every day." So, do you
That
guys
would
want
be
to like chip
nice.
in and pay
Yeah.
for her to stay home? Because you got to pick somebody,
Yeah.
you know.
I've never worked anywhere where people would be understanding of that. I think like selfishly, anyone I've worked for would be like, no, you have to do what I say. I mean, which I understand. It's like it's the job, but I've never worked for anyone that's been like supportive of it.
Yeah, like there is a downside to it because if like my bosses when I was in the squad, they always knew that my head was somewhere else, and I'm sure that even though I did do my work, but that's one thing I was good at. Like I was always good at being a team player. Like, okay, what is it that you need from me? I'm gonna guarantee you that I'm gonna do my job, but I'm not
Yeah.
probably not gonna be the superstar here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's like you do, yeah, you do. I've always like, yeah, you do your job. Like I would plenty go above and beyond. Like I once worked for a guy where he got sick and he was in the hospital for 6 months, and I went and visited him in the hospital like multiple times a week, like paid for my own cabs to just go there to just make him feel like he wasn't missing out. And I've always like done so much for everyone I've worked for. It's just I've never gotten that back and it's like right, you're not going to be like, oh yeah, I can't wait to spend my whole life with this company and move up the ranks. It's like you're focused on your other
If people
dreams.
feel like if you work there already, and then all of a sudden you're like walking around the office and you were always joking around, and like I'm thinking about taking this comedy class, and now you're in
That's
this
one
office,
thing.
and then you
Yeah.
start, and they're part of it. Watching you develop, and they come out and watch you do your first set, and they all feel like they're part of it. As long as you keep doing your job, they have a vested interest in you succeeding.
Hmm.
But if you come there already and
You're
you got this
already.
other thing that you're doing, and they're not part of it, that's
Yeah.
that's where you're not going to get just like, oh, who's like people don't nobody wants to see somebody else really succeed that bad.
No.
You know
Yeah,
what I'm
exactly.
saying?
If you're doing better in comedy than you are like at your day job, like nobody likes that. It's like, oh, who are you?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I tell all the the guys that I work with, when at the doorman job that I have, I said, no offense, but I mean, this virus, it's fucking me up. I mean, I got an exciting life when I'm not here.
Yeah.
And you guys, this is like normal.
Yeah.
What's the difference in your life? I used to do exciting shit.
Yeah. Yeah, we used to stay out late and, do drugs. No. Yeah, I miss hanging with comics. I miss like just, walking around McDougal Street, going to spots, like feeling alive. I mean, like it's been great. You always have to like you said, like choose to be happy, look on the bright side. And there's definitely been some benefits to like staying home. Um but I do really miss like those gigs. I had a whole spring tour set up.
I
March
know how
through
many
March
things were
through
canceled.
May, and all but one was canceled.
I mean,
So,
like how many things were canceled, like not done. It's amazing.
yeah,
Graduations.
right. Proms.
I mean, you'll never get that time back. Everything else is like, how many businesses were going to be formed? Who just got a part in a major, in a feature film that might not go into production right now? And that was your first.
Yeah.
lead in a film. It's just devastating. There's people sitting around right now that had their first lead in a feature.
Hmm.
No, sorry about
Better
that.
get that. Okay. It's your agent. Yeah.
What are you saying? Stop saying that.
Yeah. But hopefully, yeah,
So I mean, listen, if if uh if I didn't have this job right now, though, what would I do? I'd be
yeah.
like,
You'd be on OnlyFans.
because I was gonna, I was thinking about actually leaving once my podcast launched, because there's a certain expectation of money coming from it. So that was supposed to happen in January. So I was
Oh,
gonna leave middle of February, beginning of March, once I've seen the checks coming in, and I know how much I'm gonna make. Then the launch got pushed back for some reason to March 16th, which was the day before St. Patrick's Day. We had over 100 people coming to our launch. New York Times, Daily News,
wow.
because it's part of a bigger platform,
Yeah.
and that got canceled. So
Wow.
if this Rona didn't hit, that's what I'm missing out on. But thank God I didn't quit, because I would have been who knows.
Yeah, it's really scary. And like nobody knew. Well,
I
this
know,
the,
but that's why our parents told us, and our grandparents, save up for a rainy day, get something secure,
yeah.
because they've seen shit like this before.
Yeah.
We have a whole generation of people that think that they can keep making money off of fucking Instagram.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm
Everybody
saying?
younger than us just wants to, yeah.
Yeah, trying to monetize their YouTube. That's their goal. Not realizing how quick, it could all be taken away.
Yeah, how and YouTube is censoring so much stuff. It's like there's this documentary called Out of Shadows that's got 11 million views on it, and you can't even find it in a search. It's like it's being so deeply hidden. It's like a big conspiracy documentary about this guy that you should really watch it. It's this guy who has like, a whole career as a stunt double in Hollywood, and just
Uh-huh.
talking about like all the fucked up shit he saw, all the like pedophilia, all the like corruption, and um really fascinating documentary. But it's like, yeah, it's like if you're putting all your eggs in the YouTube basket and then they decide that your message is a little, too
Yeah, it's a
truthy.
faulty
Yeah.
business platform for if that's your sole if that's your
Yeah.
sole thing, you're better off trying to get your followers on an independent. I don't even know how you would do it. I'm not that familiar with all this
Yeah,
shit.
you just gotta have multiple streams, like be on as many platforms as you can,
That
so.
happened to the Alex Jones guy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and he's sort of like changed his tune a little bit to be like less free thinking. But
But
yeah.
I'm just saying, he pulled the rug out from a guy like that, who, and even him, he had his own website where you can go watch his stuff, but YouTube was his primary.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you got to be careful, because if you're not singing the right songs, they don't want to hear it.
Right. So true.
Look at the doctors from California that sat down there and they gave their, we're not talking about me and you doing a lecture on what we should do for COVID. We're
Yeah.
talking about two doctors that are on the front line that had a different message than who, and they pulled their information offline
Wow. Yeah, and it can happen like that.
because it didn't fit in with. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah. I had on my Instagram story, I had a post pulled down. It was a post about herbs. Like I got it off a health site. It's like, oh, these are different herbs that can cure, maybe herpes, maybe cancer. These are different herbs that can like just are good for your body and cure some virus. I mentioned nothing about corona, but they pulled it down. They're like, oh, this is you're spreading inappropriate information about corona cures. And it's like, no, I fucking wasn't at all. It's just like the wide spread of like they're just broad strokes of like, well, this is, you're promoting health information, so we got to it's crazy. I was like,
you're
wow, I
gonna
didn't
have
mention corona
literally the
once.
next Messiah is gonna be somebody who stands on the corner and gathers the people by talking to him, because his message is not going to be able to be played. That's
Hmm.
exactly like Jesus. It's going to be exactly like that, because you're going to have a message that goes against the grain. It's going to be underground. You're going to gather a following that way.
Hmm.
I mean, it's just it's absurd.
Yeah.
But then again, these platforms that were created are created by a person who has an idea of what they want, and this is my private property. Private property. I don't know whether it matters if you open it up and people start investing in it, but if as long as the people at the top are allowed to control what's going on there, then you have to start your own platform.
Mm-hmm.
That's the basis behind the platform that I'm on right now with the podcast. It's called Inside Blue 360, and it's a law enforcement platform.
Oh, cool.
And anybody who's fans of law enforcement, and basically, if you want to get the other side, the other perspective on what happened, get a good look at it, or if cops need to go somewhere where they can see some positive images,
Wow. Yeah.
not all the negative shit and people bashing and contradicting and spreading lies. So that's, if anything, what's come out of this fake news is other platforms being developed so you can hear another voice.
Absolutely.
And then talk about dividing a country completely in half, because now it happens now anyway. You half the people are if you go to Fox News, the first 5 stories you're going to see 6 stories something to do with Obamagate or Michael Flynn and all these investigations that are going on right now, right?
Yeah.
Then if you go to CNN, they don't
It's all
have one
Trump.
story about it. Not
Yeah.
one.
Nope.
It's not
Which should be the biggest story, that Obama fucked
well,
with the election.
it just goes to show you, to some people it's important,
Yeah.
and to other people they don't want to hear it.
Yeah. It doesn't fit their
It's not even in the same world.
Yeah.
You know how in CNN you go to, you had to see like the third story that day when they unredacted fucking who found out that who was looking at it. That same story was, the third story was Jennifer Aniston without makeup.
Oh my God, without makeup.
That's they had to fill their space like that. It was a slow news day, but they're not going to use this other stuff. That's going to open up a can of worms. We don't want to go there. We don't have an opposing view to this. We don't know where it's going to go yet.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. But I think we're going to be fine, Mark. We're going to get those gigs again.
You think so?
Woo!
Okay, I hope so too. Listen, I'm hoping by September.
Yeah. I mean, I'm hoping by August, because I know for sure I have a gig in August out on the Jersey Shore. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping for before that, but I'm just saying, like, whenever Broadway opens up, then I think that'll be. I'm doing a drive-in show.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I don't have a date yet, but this is, we adapt. We're like roaches.
We adapt. We are. Mark, where can people follow you, find you?
You can find me on Facebook, Instagram. I'm also the podcast. It's called Police Off the Cuff. Anywhere you can see a podcast or listen to a podcast on YouTube. And the new platform is Inside Blue 360. We'd love for you to go in there and check it out. It's our new home. You could, take a look at. There's a bunch of different other podcasts on there. The president of the SBA, Ed Mullen, has his own podcast with Maki.
Wow.
There's a retired narcotics, Michelle Durante. You know her, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She's so cool.
She
I
has
love
a
her.
podcast on there.
Oh, that's great.
They wrap up the week in what happened in the news crime-wise. There's a lot of exciting stuff happening there. So if you're a fan, and we'd love you to check it out.
Sounds good. Mark, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Hopefully I'll see you soon. And yeah.
Hopefully. Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
All right. Bye.
Say hi to Frank for me.
I will. He says hi.